We have the tech to get food delivered in 15 minutes, but we all have horror stories about buying tickets. The Game Time app gives fans the advantage. Get amazing tickets in just a few taps. Fees are included, so what you see is what you pay. And the Game Time guarantee means authentic tickets at the best price every time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets to concerts, sports, comedy, and more with Game Time. Download the Game Time app and create an account for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
Good morning, my friend. Hello. Welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. We've got an excellent podcast for you as we're going to be joined in segment number 2 by a good friend of ours, Matt Josephs, aka Mid-Major Matt. We're going to take a look at what we've all been seeing here in Major League Baseball over the last few weeks, what he's expecting at the trade deadline, some of what's popping out in the prop market as well, and then we'll take a look at the games that we've got here for Saturday. In the final segment, I'm going to get you guys picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Saturday as we touch them all. If you do have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one of two ways we offer those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at Junit_81. Keep in mind, there's the maybe it does not matter. So as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. And the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. Well, I did not get in a lot of Twitter/X questions today. Boy, did we have a fun day baseball on Friday. A little bit of an underwhelming day for the offenses, but if you're a fan of pitching, boy, was it a fun one. Let's take a look back at it, try to find some trends, and try to get to know these teams a little bit better.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the rowdy recap.
The Rockies get the job done against the Brewers. This by a count of 5-2. Tomoyuki Sugano does give up a pair of home runs, but only gives up 2 runs in total as Christian Yelich, his 7th Yelly bomb of the season, and Bryce Terang, 15th home run season. He goes 5 1/3 innings, and then from there, Victor Vodnik, 5 outs out of the bullpen squirrels. Antonio Senzatella and Jordan Romano, both on his squirrel inning. Shane Drone, well, he was destroyed in this one. 5 runs allowed over the course of 6 innings. Grant Anderson, 8 squirrel inning, 2 squirrels from Craig Yoho. Too little, too late there. So Rockies get a nice road win now. 18-34 on the road, not necessarily where they want to be, but step in the right direction. And for the Detroit Tigers, Tariq Skubal, he put on a nice audition for any team that might look to trade him. 2-1. The Tigers get the job done. Skubal, 12 punch-outs, gives up 1 run in 7 1/3 innings. Brendan Enenfe, a pair of outs out of the bullpen squirrels. Kenley Jansen, squirrels 9th inning, and Beck Way was the opener for Noah Cameron. Gives up 2 runs in his inning work, and then Noah Cameron was great. 7 shutout innings. He did his part, but Beck Way, well, he led the way for the Detroit Tigers to be able to get a win. Who's now 4 games below 500 and all of a sudden clawing their way back in the American League playoff race. For the Chicago Cubs, they get the job done 3-2 over the Pittsburgh Pirates. Jared Jones, very solid in this one. Gives up a solo run in 6 innings of work to Pico Armstrong, 22nd home run in the campaign. From there, Wilbert Hotel, Mason Montgomery, Gregory Soto, all ended scoreless inning, and then you don't mess with the Yohan Ramirez got messed with in the 10th inning, 2 runs, 1 of which was earned there. Matthew Boyd, very solid here. Gives up 1 run over the course of 7 innings. Jacob Webb, Caleb Thielbar, both end scoreless innings. Kevin Hollowell gives up an unearned run in the 10th inning, but the Cubs, they find a way to be able to get the job done there, and being able to get the job done, the Arizona Diamondbacks, 3-2 the final. Eduardo Rodriguez continues to not get strikeouts, but continues to be plenty effective. 2 runs allowed in 6 innings against the top offense in all of baseball. Jacob Cruz, 8th home run of the season off of him. Juan Murillo, along with Kevin Ginkel, Paul Sewald, all end scoreless innings, and Carson Palmquist. The opener, well, this was not a great open. 2 runs allowed in 1 1/3 innings. From there, Zach Littell gives up 1 run in 5 innings. Tom Cosgrove out of the bullpen scoreless. Orlando Robalta 4 out scoreless. Max Kranick, he was able to give you a scoreless inning, but the opener situation not working out for a lot of teams on Friday. For the Blue Jays, things are just not working out in general for them. 6-4. The Red Sox are now 16-1 in their last 17 games. Patrick Sandoval gives up 5 hits and 4 2/3 innings, but no runs as the Blue Jays, thanks to 10 men on base. Shock, surprise, Teran Guerrero, 1 1/3 inning scoreless. Greg Weiser does give up 3 runs in his inning of work as Kazuma Okamoto, 23rd home run of the campaign. From there, Garrett Woodlock gives up a run in an inning, but Ronald Chapman scoreless inning, and Trey Savage, 3 runs allowed over the course of 4 innings, including a pair of bombs to Anthony Siegler, 3rd of the campaign. Don Rafael is 10th. From there, Mason Fluharty, Jeff Hoffman both give you a scoreless inning. Braden Fisher gives up a run in his inning work, and then C.J. Van Eyck gives up 2 runs and gets just 1 out of the bullpen. Alex Macko, who was handed some inherited runners, didn't necessarily do the world's greatest job of holding them on. 2/3 of an inning, he was able to go scoreless, but damage by then had been done. For the New York Mets, they continue to be the least profitable team in all of baseball. 4-2, the Dodgers get the job done here. As for Los Angeles, Roki Sasaki, 1 run allowed in 7 innings. That 1 run, a solo home run to Luis Robert, 4th home run of the campaign, and then from there, Francisco Alvarez, 12th home run season. That comes off of Evan Phillips, who gives up that home run in his inning work. Tanner Scotty was great Scott for a scoreless inning, and Sean Manaea gives up just 1 run in 6 innings. But then from there, the bullpen relinquishes this one. Cyrano Perez, a scoreless inning, but Perks Rayleigh goes off the Rayleighs, gives up a run in an inning. AJ Minter, 2 runs allowed in an inning. Kyle Tucker, 8th home run of the campaign, giving up some runs. Ryan Gusto, no May Gusto to the fact that the Miami Marlins lose by a count of 4-2 as they are back to 500. For the Marlins, Ryan Gusto gives up 1 run in 3 1/3 innings. From there, you had Kate Gibson give up a run in his inning work. Michael Peterson, great name, pair of outside the bullpen squirrels. Blake Bakar, 5 out squirrels, but then Tyler Zuber, 2/3 of an inning. He gives up 2 runs as Luis Renifo, his 2nd home run of the campaign. John King was the king of give you a pair of outside the bullpen squirrels. Calvin Fauché, a squirreless inning, and Rodman Marquez, not long for this game, gives up a home run as it was Joe Mack taking him deep for his 10th home run season. Gives up just a 1 run in 2 1/3 innings. Kyle Hart, 2 scoreless innings from there. Wadi Peralta gives up a home run to Alberto Hernandez, 14th home run of the season. From there, Bradley Rodriguez, a pair of outside the bullpen squirrels. Adrian Morejon, 4 out scoreless, and Mason Miller continues at sub-1 ERA. Scoreless thing to get that one in. The Tampa Bay Rays get this one in 11-3. They take down the Cleveland Guardians. Joey Cantillo, not what he was looking for. 5 runs allowed in 3 2/3 innings as he was taken deep by Ryan Vilde. He gets his 8th home run season. Richie Palacios later on off of Hunter Gaddis, 4th home run season. Gaddis gives up that home run in 1/3 of an inning of work as there were 3 men on. A lot of those men inherited from Sean Armstrong. 3 runs given up in 2/3 of an inning. Tim Aaron gives up a run in an inning. You had Franco Ullman give you a pair of outside the bullpen scoreless, and Matt Fessa, he had a Fiesta 1 2/3 inning scoreless, and Sugar Shane McClanahan continues to be sugary sweet as he gives up 1 run in 5 innings. Cole Sulzer, a scoreless inning. Chris Roycroft in long relief gives up 2 runs in 3 innings. Austin Hedges takes him deep. He's really had a renaissance, 4th home run season, but way too little, way too late out there. Nothing doing for either offense out there in Philadelphia. 1-0, the Yankees win a slog. Jesus Luzardo, good start here. He gives up a home run in 7 innings to Paul Goldschmidt, 16th home run season. Jonathan Bolin, Jose Alvarado both led a scoreless inning. Cam Schluttler was better though. 12 punch-outs, 7 1/3 inning scoreless. And Hedrick, pair of outside the bullpen scoreless. David Benner does not poop the Benner, a scoreless inning to be able to get that one in. For the Atlanta Braves, they have an overwhelming 10th inning. This game was 3-3 going into the 10th inning. They go for a 4 spot in the 10th to be able to get a 7-6 win. Grant Holmes got this one. Holmes with giving up 3 runs over the course of 5 innings. Trevor Rogers on the flip side was even better for the Orioles. 2 runs allowed in 7 innings, but then Uncle Rico Garcia gives up a home run in the 8th inning as it was Drake Baldwin getting his 20th home run season. Then Matt Olson in the 10th inning, 27th home run in the campaign. That comes off of Andrew Kittredge. 4 unearned runs given up in 2/3 of an inning of work as he was hurt by a Jackson Holiday error. Did have Tyler Wells pitch Wells in the 9th inning for a scoreless inning. Grant Wolfram out of the bullpen scoreless, but that bomb really doomed the Orioles. And for the Braves bullpen, they continue to be solid. Danny Young and Tyler Kinley combined for a scoreless inning. You had 3 scoreless innings from an unlikely source, and Eliezer Hernandez, the long winding road for him. Dylan Lee does give up 3 runs, 2 of which were earned in the 10th inning, including a home run to Christian Encarnacion Strand. His 3rd of the season, and his 3rd in the last 7 days, but the damage, it had already been done. And being able to do some damage as well, the Athletics, 2-0. They take down the Minnesota Twins. For the Twins, you had Zebby Matthews give up 2 runs in 6 innings. He was solid. Cody Funderburk, Travis Adams, and Jack Anderson all in a scoreless inning, but nothing doing for the Twins here. 0 of 8 with men in scoring position. Jacob Lopez walks 4 but gives up no runs in 5 shutout innings. Jeff Arplebe in 1/3 of an inning walks 3. He only gets 1 out, but Jose Suarez cleans up the Mets. 5 outside the bullpen squirrels. Elvis Alvarado and Hogan Harris, they were heroes. They were all able to give you a scoreless inning. For the Walker Texas Rangers, they do get the job done. This by a count of 5-4 for the Rangers. Mackenzie Gore gets semi-gored. He gives up 3 runs in this one over the course of 5 innings. From there, Peyton Gray, Jacob Junis, they both on a scoreless inning. Tyler Alexander along Cole Winn combined for a scoreless inning. Jacob Latz does give up a run in the 9th, and Bryce Miller, regression seems to be coming from 5 runs allowed in 5 1/3 innings. Taken deep by Jake Berger, his 18th home run season. Wyatt Langford, his 12th. From there, Edward Bizzardo, pair of outside the bullpen squirrels. Michael Rucker was able to give you 2 shutout innings, but not enough there. For the Giants, they win 7-6 against the LA Angels. some people thought that they had won this game 8-6 if you, like me, had the run line, but the ground rule double, it only counts for 1 run at the end of that one, and to the credit of the Angels bullpen, it was really good after Grayson Rodriguez gets destroyed. 5 runs allowed over the course of 4 innings, taken deep by Rafael Devers and Casey Schmidt. Both get their 21st home run in the campaign. From there, Brendan Suter, Jose Fermin, Sam Natera, Ryan Zefrian, all in scoreless innings. Kirby Yates does give up a run in an inning, and then Chase Silseth, he gives up the walk-off ground rule pretty much double in this one. They count it as like a single, I think, so very interesting to say the least. And Vaughn Grisham, he was able to go deep for the Angels. He gets home run number 6 of the campaign. That comes off of Jason Foley after Logan Webb. Not his best start. 4 runs allowed over the course of 6 innings. You had Dylan Smith give you a scoreless inning. Jason Foley gives up 2 runs in his inning of work. Eric Miller and Caleb Killian, they were both able to give you a scoreless inning, being able to land a lot of scoreless innings. The Cincinnati Reds, they were on to a 4-2 win over the St. Louis Cardinals. Rhett Lauder makes some noise, giving up 2 runs in 5 innings on only 1 hit. He had given up a pair of walks in this one. You had Julian Garcia, Caleb Ferguson from there, combined for a squirrel setting. Bracken Roberg, TJ Antone, Emilio Pagan, all landed squirrel setting. And Dustin May, well, his main day for the Cardinals while he was out there. 1 run allowed in 6 innings. But then from there, George Soriano gives up a home run to Eugenio Suarez. 14th home run of the season. He gives up 2 runs in his inning. Ryan Stanek, a squirrel setting. Luis Castillo, he gives up a run in an inning as well. So the Reds starting to heat up a little bit now. 500 away from home, and for the Chicago White Sox, they had to take it to them by the Houston Astros. 9-5 the final. Spencer Urghetti, not long for this game. He gives up 3 runs in his inning of work. From there, the bullpen was great. Kai Wei Tang does give up 2 runs in 2 innings, but AJ Bluebot, pair of scoreless innings. Bennett Sosa, Brian Abreu, Stephen Oker, Josh Hader, all landed scoreless inning, and Davis Martin, not what he was hoping for. 4 runs allowed over the course of 5 innings, but then Brian Hudson, he gives up 4 himself, but it was over the course of 2/3 of an inning. Cam Smith takes him deep, 13th home run of the season. Did have Chris Murphy give up a run in an inning. Trevor Richards, 2 scoreless innings, and then Sir Anthony Dominguez, he comes in for a scoreless inning of his own. And if you're taking a look at trend-wise, what we're getting in baseball right now, the unders now have the lead on overs. It's been an overwhelming season for much of the season, but now 763 unders, 753 overs, and Matt serves me correct, 37 pushes along the way, so 50.3% to the under. Favorites on the money line hitting at about 56%, 842 and 664, but 201 of those favorites have failed to cover the run line, and favorites a little bit of a rough run of it over the last 7 days. 47 and 41 on the money line for just 53.5%. Out of those favorites, 14 failed to cover the run line, 53 unders and 41 overs in this time span, and I believe that we've had 2 pushes along the way, so 56.5% hit rate to the under over the last 7 days, and over the last 30 days, under rate 53.3%, 185 unders, 162 overs, and only 7 pushes along the way, and favorites on the money line hitting at 57.5%, 195 and 144, and out of those favorites, all but 47 covered the run line. So that's what we're seeing in baseball right now. That's what we're getting trend-wise. Coming next, how about if we do chat it up with one of our good friends, Matt Joseph, aka Mid-Major Matt, right here on the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the Decent Family Podcast.
We have the tech to get food delivered in 15 minutes, but we all have horror stories about buying tickets. The Game Time app gives fans the advantage. Get amazing tickets in just a few taps. Fees are included, so what you see is what you pay. And the Game Time guarantee means authentic tickets at the best price every time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets to concerts, sports, comedy, and more with Game Time. Download the Game Time app and create an account for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
We're back in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by this man, as we've got Matt Josephs aboard. You know him better as Mid-Major Matt, doing a great job with Ariel Epstein's Prop Queen website, Prop Queen podcast as well. He does a tremendous job over at ESPN Radio in Richmond with the show Border to Border. I know he's fresh off of ACC Media Days out there getting set for the college football season, where he does a great job shining there, just like he does on the baseball front. And you're able to follow him on the old Twitter/X at Mid-Major Matt all together. And Matt, always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining me. And Matt, now we are about a week or so away, maybe a little bit of change from the trade deadline. And just how do you take a look at the landscape of baseball? Because I do think that there's a lot of opportunity that can present itself in the futures market if you think that a team is going to be an unexpected buyer and seller. And I feel like it's just a very interesting landscape in general, with just all the teams in the American League, aside from like the Angels and the Royals, not knowing what they're going to do at the deadline.
It's going to be very interesting. And around this time is when we start seeing people who might be trading players, take them out a little bit earlier. We'll see what happens with Forrest Griffin, Tarek Skubal, some of these other guys who might be available. Some teams might only have them go 5 innings, so that way they don't get injured and they can't trade them. A Logan Webb or somebody with San Francisco. So that's something you always want to watch out for right now, these next couple of days. And don't forget, the trade deadline is no longer the 31st. It's now August 3rd. So therefore, there's a little bit more time, but something to be aware of.
Absolutely. Is that something that you might be taking a look at a little bit more 3 or 4 days from now, or does that really start this weekend?
Well, I mean, it depends on the situation. I mean, obviously we're talking as Tarek Skubal is starting on Friday night. If Detroit is planning to trade him, you would want to see him potentially go a little bit less, or heck, maybe he gets scratched last minute in his next start. So that's something to look out for. But yes, with it being August 3rd and a lot of teams potentially deciding if they're going to buy or sell, you might find some value on some of these guys because their teams just don't know what they're doing and they want to showcase them 1 or 2 more times.
Yep, absolutely. And I do think that it's really interesting what we're going to get in that AL Central because 2 of the biggest pieces on the market, Joe Ryan along Tarek Skubal, and I think that it's really going to be dependent upon what these 2 teams do here in their next 2 or 3 series, because if a team like the Tigers, for example, goes 6-1, who knows if they're going to trade Tarek Skubal? Same goes for the Minnesota Twins, and they've right now got a series against the Athletics, who have just really scuffled, so they might be able to get a few wins there, and if things toil pull and they go 1-6, they might just sell it all.
Well, yeah, and look in Boston and Baltimore. Boston playing tremendous baseball right now, went from sellers to extreme buyers, it looks like. I read some places they could be very busy at the deadline. And the Orioles are playing a little bit better. And as we said, everybody's kind of within 4, 5, 6 games of the wild card. Some of these teams, have to buy or at least not sell to keep their fan base happy the last 2 months of the season.
Yep, exactly. As we do have Matt Joseph, better known as Mid-Major Matt, joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show. And I know you're a little bit of a Phillies fan. I want to get your thoughts here because no doubt about it, they're going to be buyers at this point. We've seen Donnie Baseball do a nice job in terms of turning this thing around for them. How do you take a look at their outlook, both with regards to the trade deadline and moving forward? Because I think it's they and the Brewers, really the 2A, 2B in the National League, still have to default to the LA Dodgers being that number 1 team, being that they're the back-to-back title winners. But for the Philadelphia Phillies, I think that they put themselves in a nice position here, and as a little bit of a top-heavy team, I feel like they're a team that they don't necessarily need that blue-chip guy, but they just need some, shall we say, supporting pieces.
Well, I mean, I think they need potentially another starting pitcher. They certainly need one for the 5th spot, which has been brutal so far this season, but I feel like they might need to go and get a 2 or a 3. I know they have some good starting pitching at the top, but maybe you move a Jesus Luzardo to the bullpen, and he becomes that Roki Sasaki guy like last year where, he was a starter and then he becomes a bullpen guy in the playoffs. So I think anything is on the table for them. They need hitting, they need pitching, they need bullpen, they need a better fielder because Trey Turner, who knows what he's going to do in the field nowadays. So the Phillies are going to be busy. And you know what? Dave Dombrowski's had some terrible trade deadlines as of late for the Phillies. I know last year he got Ron, and that was really good. But the year before that, Michael Lorenzen and Rodolfo Castro, he's gotten Noah Syndergaard. So this is a very important trade deadline. And if he's not going to be able to fill all the holes, he's got to be able to take care of at least 1 or 2 of them.
Yep, I do agree with you there. And I mean, yeah, Michael Lorenzen, that was a little bit less than tremendous, to say the least. You just went down a really nice highlight reel of guys that didn't necessarily pan out for them. I will give them credit for Brandon Marsh. Brandon Marsh was a good pickup. He's been very solid for the team. And how do you take a look at their game on Saturday? Because as of right now, it's officially listed as TBD. Brian Keller, the pride of the UW Milwaukee Panthers, most likely going to be making his start, as he's a 30-plus-year-old who's going to be most likely making an MLB debut. Right now, I'm seeing the Phillies right around even money. Very curious game, to say the least, against a Yankees team that has really scuffled on offense.
Well, this is a Phillies team that has gone over their K-prop in every game so far this second half. Since they came back from the All-Star break, every single starting pitcher, including I'm not going to say his last name because I'm not as confident, but that guy for the Yankees who had 11 strikeouts last I looked. So, you're looking at the over here. This is a Phillies team that at times is very free swinging. You look at the last couple of lefties. Manaea had 7, Robleski had 7, Lauer had 5, which feels like 7 or 8 for him. And we know that Ryan Weathers can get strikeouts. The question is he going to get outs? I mean, this is the type of guy that we want to definitely look at the weather forecast. If the wind is blowing out, I would think the Phillies are going to get some runs off of him. And this is a team that couldn't hit lefties for a large stretch of the first half. And now that we've gone past the All-Star break, they can't hit righties. So who knows? I've always said on your podcast, when it comes to the Phillies, you ride the highs and you fade the lows. And right now, this is a team that's kind of all over the place. They can't decide if they're high or they're low. So to me, it's a slight lean to the Yankees. You might might get a opener before Keller. Yeah, who knows? But this feels like a game, especially if the wind is blowing out, that could see a lot of runs.
Yep, it is going to be really interesting to take a look there. Total of 8.5, even though Ryan Weathers has been able to get some strikeouts. I'm going to be in on that over myself because we just don't know what is going to be happening with the Phillies there. And we've got a lot of intrigue with regards to this card on Saturday because you mentioned it. The Red Sox, they have really heated up. Now they run into the man that started the All-Star game in Dylan Cease as slim like -115, -120 favorites. Want to get your thoughts here because a lot of people were riding the Red Sox when they were on that big win streak. Now is there perhaps a little bit of a letdown now that they've got a loss or two under their belt since that 15-game win streak?
It's a little interesting. Obviously, still being at home, that's great for them. And Cease has been really good so far this season. And this is a Boston team that maybe there is a little bit of a letdown here after the long win streak. So maybe you are looking to fade them a little bit. And maybe doubt starts to creep in and maybe they're not buyers. So yeah, I mean, look, when you got a guy like Cease on the mound, you're certainly going to get a lot of strikeouts from him. When you look at Sonny Gray, I mean, he's got a little bit of strikeouts. Now this is a Toronto team that is making more contact, but not as much as last year. I mean, last year they were so hard. They averaged less than 4 strikeouts per game against right-handed starting pitchers last year total. This year they're slightly over 4, but 4 of the 5 righties that they've seen so far in this second half have had 5 strikeouts. So it's something to kind of look at here to see what the number is for Sonny Gray. But Toronto is an interesting team, and certainly with Dylan Cease on the mound, they become slightly more interesting to me, to say the least.
Absolutely, and this is a game that is of interest to me as well, that Pirates versus Cubs game, because a lot of people, when they think of the Pirates, they always think of the starting pitching and Paul Skeens. That's always the man that is number 1 on the list. A lot of people don't think about the fact that they actually lead the league in terms of run creation at home, though. And Shota Imanaga has been rough, to say the least, for the Cubs over the last 2 or so months. Right now, the Pirates, I'm seeing as low as a -124 out there. I want to get your thoughts here because for Paul Skeens, the team is 3-9 in his last 12 starts. I think that this could be a good buy spot, actually, on the Pirates.
Yeah, it's interesting. When you look at the Pirates, they're averaging nearly 6 strikeouts per game against left-handed starting pitchers. Obviously, Boyd didn't go over his number of 5.5, but you look, Max Fried coming off the IL had 7. Cantillo had 7. Ryan Weathers had 5. So whenever you play against the Pirates and you see a lefty on that side, you're certainly looking at the strikeouts, to say the least. But yeah, I mean, look, there's certainly some value when you see a guy like Paul Skeens out there. Now, the price is certainly to his side because, they figure a lot of people are going to bet on Paul Skeens thinking, oh my God, he's one of the best pitchers in baseball. He surely has to win. If you want to isolate Skeens and maybe you don't want to be involved with that bullpen, this is a situation where maybe you look at the first 5, maybe a first 5 under or a first 3 under because of the Pirates' struggles at times against left-handed starting pitchers. But this feels like a lower scoring game, especially early.
Yep, and it is going to be interesting to look at that total of 8 as well, because I'm personally in on that under for the Pirates. I think that they might have a little bit of difficulty with Imanaga, and I still think that Paul Skeens is going to be Paul Skeens here. And then this game is of intrigue as well, because with the Mets, I'm sure that you have found a lot of value with regards to some of their props, some to the positive, some to the negative. Now they go up against Yoshinobu Yamamoto, who's been so good away from home since joining the big league level. Right now, the Dodgers are about a -145, -150 favorite. Total is 8. Want to get your thoughts here because I just love backing Yamamoto on the road, especially against a Mets team that has had so many difficulties this year.
Yeah, McLean is on target lately. He's pitching really well. It's one of those situations where you've got a Dodgers team that strikes out a lot. They're averaging nearly 5 strikeouts per game against right-handed starting pitchers. Zach Wheeler had 9. Cole had 8. Several others have done really well against this team. So if this number is not too high, which it probably will be, unfortunately, because McLean is one of these guys that, you get high numbers. If it's like a 5.5, I might be looking at the over because the Dodgers are a bit free swinging at times. And on the other side, when you look at Yamamoto, you talk about it, he's really good on the road. And you've got a Mets team that's been all over the place. Really hard to kind of figure out when it comes to the K-props. They have just 2 more unders than overs so far this season. So with 36 unders, 34 overs against right-handed starting pitchers. So it's hard to figure them out. But Yamamoto on the road is a really good bet. And once again, I kind of like the first 5 under here. Kind of isolate these 2 really good pitchers, especially, certainly we'll take a look at the weather when it comes up in the morning. But I might look at like a first 5 under in this game with these 2 pitchers.
Yep, I think that's a tremendous look. I'm looking at that full game to the under myself because with Yamamoto, we saw him go for a complete game in his last start as well. You can really isolate the bullpen a lot of times with Yamamoto, the way that he's able to lend length, and McLean, they're probably going to need him to fill quite a few innings as well. And then I want to get your thoughts on Hunter Green because he's such an interesting guy. Right now, the Reds are an underdog against the Cardinals. Obviously got lit up in that first start against the Orioles. Last two starts, very good for him. He's averaging over 14 strikeouts per 9 innings against a Cardinals team that I'm sure that you've looked at this as well. Significantly worse with their offense at home rather than away from home. I feel like this could be a good time to be able to bank on both Hunter Green and the Reds in general in this spot.
Yeah, I feel like early with Hunter Green. I feel like he's the type of guy you see those first couple of innings, and if he feels good, like you feel really good back in Cincinnati. This is a Cardinals team that makes a lot of contact against lefties. They're not as good against righties so far since the break. Soriano had 7, Urena had 5, but Kelly and Fod had 3. Fod again in that extra game that they played had 1. So, this is a Cardinals team that loves to make contact. The problem is taking an under with Hunter Green is very tough. It's very tough for your heart because if you watch him those first couple innings and he's on, he could get those strikeouts in the first 3 or 4 innings and you lose your bet rather easily. But this is a Cardinals team that at times I'm taking K-prop unders because they have been very good at making contact throughout the season.
Yep, they certainly have been, and it's going to be a fun one out there in St. Louis on Saturday. And just anything else that you're taking a look at in general, because I know you pointed out some really good trends that you've been finding, especially some of these post-All-Star break. Anything else that really stands out on the Saturday card?
Well, Foster Griffin is a guy that you want to look out for here. Arizona is averaging 3.5 strikeouts per game against left-handed starting pitchers. We know that Griffin has had a lot of success getting the strikeouts, and we know that the Nationals may be trading him and may want to show him off a little bit here. So if he has a lot of success against an Arizona team that hits lefties very well, I think that's going to help his value. Now, the question is, even with the bad bullpen, is he going to go his full length? Like, if he pitches well, is he going to go 6 or 7 innings, or are they going to kind of save him and hope that he's going to stay healthy so they can get a lot for him? So that's something to kind of look at here. Obviously, when you look at Robbie Ray is always a fun guy. I never like betting Robbie Ray games, but until like the 3rd or 4th inning to kind of figure out which Robbie Ray it is. Is he the guy who walks everybody, or the guy who strikes out everybody, or the guy who strikes out nobody? So that's a fun one against an Angels team that we know strikes out against pretty much everybody. And then, Orioles and Braves is very interesting. 2 pitchers that I kind of like. Elder's getting a little bit less strikeouts as of late. Young has been a strikeout pitcher, but the Braves are a very high contact lineup. That's going to be an interesting game. And of course, nowadays we have a lot of weather situations. It's really hot in certain places. It's very rainy in certain places. So I always like to say, make sure to check out the weather because that's what will certainly affect your wagers. And if you notice a total moving a little bit in the morning before you even get a chance to wager on it, it's probably because the wind is blowing in or the wind is blowing out.
Yep, that's such a good call by you because the weather, it is all over the place right now here in July. You get some super duper hot days and then you get more of the cloudy, coolish sort of days as well. So well said by you, Matt. And Matt, you're doing such an excellent job taking a look at baseball. I know you're getting set for what is going to be a tremendous football season. You always do a great job on the college basketball front and so much more. So let the good people at home know what's on tap for you and how people can follow along on social media and other platforms.
Yeah, Mid-Major Matt on Twitter. I'm always willing to help everybody. We all want to beat the books. I released my Heisman portfolio after hitting the Heisman last year, so hopefully we get to do that for the 2nd year in a row. And as you said, college football is right around the corner. It is my best sport of all of them. And I post all my plays on the Action Network app and also on my Twitter account, so there's accountability for everything. Certainly, still taking a look at baseball, college basketball, as you mentioned, fun times ahead for that as well. So research never stops, Greg, and always appreciate you having me on.
It's always great to be able to have our good friend Matt aboard. He does such an excellent job taking a look at this great game of baseball every single time he joins me on such great insights, and he did so once again today. So big thanks to Matt for joining me on the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Coming up next, it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this baseball Saturday as we have tomorrow.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. It's always a pleasure to be joined by Matt Josephs, a.k.a. Mid-Major Matt. He does such an excellent job taking a look at this great game of baseball over at Ariel Epstein's Prop Queen website, the podcast, and so much more, along with ESPN Radio in Richmond. Every single time he joins me, learn such great insights, and he did so once again today. So a big thanks to Matt for joining me in the last segment. Now it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this baseball Saturday as we touch them all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
Do note that as per usual, any changes that are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter/X feed at gunit_81, and we're going to be going in Las Vegas rotation order. This is where we go with the National League games first in time order, then the American League games, any interleague games, those are going to be at the bottom. That'll keep things all nice, neat, clean, and easy. But if we get things started, this is 9:51, 9:52 on the card. It is the Diamondbacks on the road against the Washington Nationals. Foster Griffin goes for the Nats, and Mitch Barrett for the Arizona Diamondbacks. 9 is the total. Over is -110 to a -120. The under is between even and -110. Meanwhile, for the Nationals, they're between -134 to a -140, +115 to +120 for the Arizona Diamondbacks. And I'm in on the Nationals. I did set them at a -143. For Foster Griffin, I really do think that there's going to be some regression doing for him, but I just still have my question marks with Mitch Bratt because he's only made 3 career starts, 10 2/3 innings. He has given up in that time span 6 runs, 3 homers. He's giving up over 4.5 walks per 9 innings, so he just hasn't impressed me. He was pretty solid at the minor league level, but he's just not lending a lot of length, and the Diamondbacks were one of the few teams that had to play on Thursday, so they're more tired with their bullpen than a lot of other teams. And Foster Griffin, I don't think he's going to be able to maintain an 11-2 record. He's got a 2.68 ERA, more like a 3.97 fielding dependent, 8.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, and it's not like he's doing for regression because he's a bad pitcher. It's just that it's a little bit unsustainable at this point. He has been giving up 1.3 home runs per 9 innings. Now, the good news for him is that he does go up against a unit that has been in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of run creation away from home. Ketel Marte of the Marte Parte, 18 home runs. He's been able to about a 262, 265, so he's been solid. Corbin Carroll hasn't really been able to give you a lot of power recently, so that's something that you do want to be noting, but he's still been able to give you about a 340 or so with regards to that on base. You've got Gabriel Moreno, who's been hitting darn near 300 for this team. You've got some of these other mix and match guys, Geraldo Perdomo, giving you a 350 on base as well. So all in all, I think that's solid, and you are going to have a nice advantage for the Arizona Diamondbacks with the bullpen, but again, they're going to be a little bit more spent than the Nationals in the bullpen. You do have the likes of Juan Murillo, Taylor Clark, Braden Garcia, Jonathan Loaiza. These guys give you a sub-335 ERA. Paul Sewald, I just don't trust in the closer's role. And for the Washington Nationals, they have been banged up with their bullpen, as right now you've got Brad Lord along with PJ Poulin on the injury list. Orlando Robalta has been relatively okay, sub-4 ERA out of he and Clayton Beater. Riley Cornelio is like a 6 ERA. Carson Palmquist, the opener from a day or two ago. It's not been great to say the least as well, so have a lot of question marks there, but the Nationals numero uno in terms of run creation. James Wood giving you good wood as he's been able to pop off for 28 home runs, darn near 400 on base, and he's not the only guy. CJ Abrams, 24 home runs, 360 on base. You've got Luis Garcia giving you 21 bombs. He's been hitting at 280. Even though he doesn't draw walks, Keibert Ruiz is moving line, hitting at 275. These guys like a Decim Nunez has been really good with 37 stolen bases, hitting above a 250. So I do think that this is going to be a high-scoring game, and do think that the Nationals get the job done. I'm willing to lay up to -142 there, and I'm in on the over. Semi-total at an 8.7, 953, 954 on the card. The Marlins are going to be on the road against the Slam Diego Padres. JP Sears goes for the Pods, and Eddie Perez goes for Miami. Miami -130 to -140 favorites, +110 to +115 for the Pods. 8 is the total, over and under both at -110, and I'm in on the Marlins. Set them at a -156. Just throughout his career, Erie Perez has been such a different pitcher when he's been at home rather than away from home, and he's just on a really good run in general for Erie Perez. I mean, this has been absolutely remarkable what we've seen out of him. 353 ERA, 412 fielding dependent with 1.3 home runs, 3.6 walks per 9 innings overall this season, but 5 runs allowed in 39 and a third innings in his last 7 starts. That goes back to, I believe, that no-hitter that he had to be removed from when he was going up against the Blue Jays and something was acting up in his leg. But I mean, this guy has been absolutely great, and for his career at home, 269 ERA, 0.7 home runs allowed per 9 innings, road ERA 4.54, 1.7 home runs allowed per 9 innings, so very much a night and day difference. Meanwhile, on the flip side, you've got a guy in JP Sears that should be feeling lucky. He's got a 4.38 ERA. The fielding independent is a 5.09, 1.8 home runs per 9 innings. He's only getting about 7.3 strikeouts per 9, and I recognize that it's not the easiest place in the world to pitch in at AAA El Paso, but he was posting up above a 70 ERA there. Now he is backed up by a bullpen that is in the top 4 in the National League in terms of ERA, so that helps you out, and the likes of Yuki Matsui along with Wandy Peralta give you a sub 3.25 ERA have been solid. Obviously Mason Miller is the main attraction for this team. They've been dealing with an injury to Jason Adam, and on the flip side, this has been a Miami Marlins team that has been solid with their bullpen as well. Do want to be noting that someone like an Anthony Bender being on the injury list does hurt this team. Lake Bakar has been a little bit shaky recently, but still 8th in the league in terms of bullpen ERA. With regards to that bullpen as well, do need P. Fairbanks to be a little bit better, but I don't think you're going to need much of the bullpen with the way that Erie Perez is pitching. And for the Padres, they entered in the week dead last in terms of run creation in all of baseball. They were able to kick that up because of the 19 spot that they put up against the Royals, but still not a lot of guys move the line for the team. Jackson Merrill, Xander Bogaerts, Gavin Sheets, Seo-Young Song, Jake Cronenworth, Manny Machado, all hitting at 226 or lower. Machado's up to 22 home runs, but still not give you a lot of on base. Fernando Tatis Jr., 3 home runs since the All-Star break. He has been able to give you 350 on base. That helps out. I do like what I'm seeing out of Ty France as well with his 16 home runs. And then for Miami, just a lot of guys that swipe bags. Otto Lopez, Esteury Ruiz, Jacob Marcy, all these 18 stolen bases. Marcy needs to hit better than a 192, but Otto Lopez is hitting a 332. Xavier Edwards, he's been able to give you over a 350 on base, 14 stolen bags out of him. Not a ton of power. Kyle Stowers, Roberto Hernandez, 12 and 13 home runs apiece. Owen Casey's right now dealing with an injury, but Lemex hits about a 285, 14 home runs, and with the way that Erie Perez is rolling, I do think that this Marlins team gets the job done. So I tell them at a minus 156, like them on the money line. I'll take the over 8 over. I did so I tell it at 8.1. 955, 956 on the card. It is the Cubs. They're going to be on the road against the Pirates. Paul Skeens goes for the Buccos and Shota Imanaga for the Cubs. And the Cubs who find themselves as a pretty slim underdog here, plus 112 to a plus 115, minus 132 to minus 140 is that number on Pittsburgh. 8 is the total, over and under, anywhere between minus 105 to a minus 115. I set the Pirates at a minus 187. I just do not like the form of Shota Imanaga. For Shota Imanaga, he is giving up just so many home runs right now. In the last 60 and 2/3 innings, I believe it is, across his last 11 starts, he has given up 17 home runs. He's got an ERA that is above a 5 in that time span. Overall for the season, Shota Imanaga maybe doesn't have the world's worst ERA, but he does have a 4.51 fielding dependent overall for the season. 1.7 home runs allowed per 9 innings, and the overall season ERA still isn't amazing at a 3.91. Meanwhile, for Paul Skeens, 343 ERA, 281 fielding dependent, 0.9 home runs, 2 walks per 9 innings. He's still been effective. Team has been 3-9 in his last 12 starts. I do think that that's going to iron out. He's had some bad luck with fielding, guys not challenging calls, what have you, and that's been getting sorted out a little bit more. And for this Pirates team, they do a really good job in terms of generating offense at home. For the Pirates, they do find themselves numero uno in terms of run creation at home with about 5.7 runs per game, and they've been dealing with the injury to Oniel Cruz for quite a few weeks. It's been Brandon Lau who's been able to get loud. He's been able to supply this team with so many bombs. He has been able to give you 20-plus home runs, but then it's the guys in front of him that move the line, get on base. Brian Reynolds about a 390 on base. Esmeralda and Valdez, he's giving you a home run every 10 or 11 at-bats. 380 on base out of him. Jake Magnum, Nick Gonzalez, these are guys hitting at 300. Sure, you got someone like a Marcell Ozuna, Henry Davis that haven't been great, but overall good lineup. And for the Cubs, they're a top 10 team in terms of run creation as well. Pico Armstrong, 20-plus bombs, over a 380 on base. Now, you've got a lot of guys that don't necessarily hit for average that find a way to move the line, get on base, like a Michael Busch. 243 average, but a 366 on base. Alex Bregman, it's like a 240, but 335-ish on base. Same goes for Ian Happ. It's more like a 222, but 335 on base. And for Happy, he's been able to give you 15-plus home runs. Same goes for Seiya Suzuki. Dansby Swanson has kicked it up a little bit. Still about a 294 on base. You have to have a fear that this Cubs team is just going to run out of arms, though. You just look at this bullpen. Phil Matone, Hobie Milner, Daniel Palencia, Riley Martin, all dealing with injuries and are on the injury list. Trent Thornton is more day-to-day right now, so that's been rough. Jacob Webb has been able to give you a sub-350 ERA, and even someone like Gavin Hollowell hasn't been bad, but they're running out of arms, and for the Pirates, they themselves have been in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. Dennis Santana has not been what he was last season. Brandon Eisert, he's not been effective. Wilbur Dotel has been up, down, all around, and Evan Sisk who's arguably been their best reliever, is currently on the injury list. So, circumstance where I'm going to be in on the Pirates on the money line, set them at a minus 186. I do think that Paul Skeens keeps you under. I did set my total at 7.6, 957, 958 on the card. The Rockies are going to be on the road against the Brewers as Robert Gasser goes for the Brewers. Ryan Feltner is on the bum for Colorado. And Colorado does find themselves as a big underdog, plus 180 to a plus 185. Minus 215 to minus 225 is that number on the Brewers. Total on this game is 8.5. Over is minus 115. Under is minus 105. If you're looking to lay run half with the Brewers, find that at plus money, plus 102 to a plus 106. And I was willing to go up to a minus 114. I'm going to be taking a look at that run line. For Robert Gasser, well, he has been getting gas this far this season, 4.91 ERA. He's giving up 1.9 home runs per 9 innings, but backed by a top 5 offense that just finds a way to be able to generate offense. Our bottom 6 team in terms of home runs on a per at-bat basis, but I do think that they get to Ryan Feltner here, who's got a 5.48 ERA, 5.68 fielding dependent, 1.9 home runs, 3.8 walks per 9 innings, and just things have been getting more and more miserable for him throughout the season. Like, he has now given up 3+ runs in every one of his starts here in the month of July. You date it back to towards the back half of June. In his last 7 starts, he's right now posting up a 6.68 ERA, 9 home runs allowed in 33 2/3 innings. Jake Bauers has been really good for this Brewers team, being able to give you 18 home runs, and he's up to a 360 plus on base. Christian Yelich was able to have a home run yesterday. I know that he's been a little bit rough to begin the season, but I do think that he's going to be able to round into form as well. And then you've got so many guys that they just find a way on. Jackson Trios hitting at 275, double-figure amount of homers. Bryce Drang, 15 bombs, 360 on base. Garrett Mitchell, 360 on base. Andrew Vaughn is hitting above a 300. And for the Rockies, they're averaging about 4.5 runs per game away from home. May not sound like a ton, but it's much better home and road splits than they've had in the past. Hunter Goodman is a good man. He's over 30 home runs, and he's hit 17 plus of these home runs away from home. And then Cole Carrig has been able to about a 290. Jake McCarthy, TJ Romfield, these guys are hitting a 300. Mickey Moniak has been able to give you like 17 plus bombs. He's hitting at 275. Rockies bullpen is very rocky though. Antonio Senzatella has been able to give you about a 350 or so ERA. And Victor Vodnik has been looking a little bit better recently, but for Vodnik, Jaden Hill, Juan Mejia, all these guys above a 450 ERA. Brendan Bernardino has been able to give you some okay innings, but Zach Ognos has been an issue. And then for the Milwaukee Brewers, you've been able to have a lot of these guys be able to come out of the bullpen and be relatively solid, like a Grant Anderson, Craig Yoho, Aaron Ashby. You go down the list, Trevor McGill, give you a sub 350 ERA. So I do think that for the Brewers, they are able to win this game convincingly. I'm taking them on the run line up to a minus 113, and like the over, so my total 9.3, 959, 960 on the card. It is the Dodgers on the road against the Mets as Noah McLean is on the bump for the Mets, and Yoshinobu Yamamoto is going for the Dodgers. Dodgers minus 148 to a minus 156 favorites, plus 126 to a plus 130 is your number on the Mets. 8 is the total, over is minus 110 to a minus 115, under is minus 105 to a minus 110. If you're looking to lay a run half with the Dodgers, find that right around about a plus 115, and I'm going to be willing to lay a run half here with the Dodgers. I don't necessarily want that chalky money line, but for Yoshinobu Yamamoto, I think he's going to be able to keep you under. You take a look at Yoshinobu Yamamoto and what he's been able to do throughout his career when he has been away from home, and he has been so much better than when he's been at home. Overall for the season, I mean, he's been fine. 278 ERA, swing and miss stuff is down, 8.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. He was more around 10.5 strikeouts each of the last 2 years, but 1 home run, 1.9 walks per 9 innings, that's all well and good, but you get him away from Dodger Stadium, that's truly when he's at his best. For his career, 334 ERA at Dodger Stadium, and at Dodger Stadium, he gives up about 1 home run per 9 innings. Away from home, that's closer to about 0.6 home runs per 9 innings, 2.14 ERA, and for Noah McLean, he has had some big-time issues when he's been out in New York this season. Overall, 334 ERA, the swing and miss stuff is there, 10.7 strikeouts per 9 innings. He's allowing 0.8 home runs per 9, so the fielding dependent of a 330, right in line with that ERA, but at home, 4.47 ERA, giving up a little bit over a home run per 9 innings. Away from home, he's giving up closer to a half a home run per 9 innings with a 2.29 ERA. And we are seeing Austin Warren really starting to toilet bowl for this Mets bullpen. Now, you saw these guys like Brooks Raley, Oscar Brisbane, Luke Weaver, who've all been able to give you a sub 3 ERA. I like what they bring to the table, but also for the Dodgers, even though Drake Dreyer has been a little bit of a disappointment for them recently, you've been able to have these guys like a Brock and Roll Stewart, Alex Vesia, who've been able to give you a sub 325 ERA. Edgar Enriquez has been really good for this bullpen. They've needed him to be because Blake Trinan is currently on the injury list, but this has been a top 10 team in terms of bullpen ERA as well. And then you've got the likes of Max Muncy, Andy Paez, Freddie Freeman, all with at least 15 home runs. Shohei Ohtani is dealing with that leg injury, so something that you do want to be cautious of, but still 22 home runs at a 400 on base. Dalton Rushing, say what you will about him, but 11 home runs and less than 200 bats, hitting about a 250. That'll get the job done at the catcher spot. And for the Mets, Juan Soto's giving you a 400 base with 21 home runs. Nobody else on the roster with more than 11. Now, we'll say Carson Bench, Francisco Alvarez, Marcus Semien, Bo Bichette, all between 10 and 11 home runs going into yesterday. Mark Vientos as well, but Vientos, Semien, Luis Robert, so many guys hitting at 220 or lower. A.J. Ewan moves the line a little bit, but not great there. And for the Dodgers, they do average about 5.7 runs per game away from home. I think that McLean keeps them a little bit in check, but I do think that the Dodgers get the job done behind Yamamoto. So willing to take the Dodgers on the run line, and with this 8 total, I'm in on the under, so I total 7.6, 961, 962 on the card. The Reds, yes, we're on to Cincinnati. They're under the road, facing off against the Cardinals. Says Andre 3000 Palante is on the bump for the Cardinals, and Hunter Green goes for the Reds. The Reds do find themselves right around about even money to plus 105 as an underdog, minus 118 to a minus 123. That number on St. Louis with a total of 8.5. The under is minus 110 to a minus 120. The over is between even and minus 110. And I do like the under. I did set my total here at an 8.3. For Hunter Green, I do think that there's a lot of positivity coming from. He had that one atrocious start to begin the season where he gives up 8 runs against the Baltimore Orioles. That was absolutely awful. Ever since then, he has given up a grand total of 3 runs in his last 2 starts, and the swing and miss stuff is back. 14.3 strikeouts per 9 innings. I don't know if he quite maintains that for his career. It's more around about 11.3 strikeouts per 9 innings, but it's very clear that he's got his fastball and he's got his good stuff going on. Meanwhile, for Andre Palante, he's a JAG, just a guy. 0.9 home runs, 2.6 walks per 9 innings, 4.04 ERA. Fielding dependent in line with that, only about 6.4 strikeouts per 9 innings. Would like to see him be able to give you a little bit more swing and miss than that, but all in all, he's been able to do a fine job. It is a Cardinals team that's currently in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of open ERA. Ryan Stanek, Matt Zavanson, these have been guys that have been less than stellar in the bullpen. Jojo Romero is right now dealing with a little bit of injury, so that's an issue, and you certainly have the bullpen issues for the Cincinnati Reds as well for the series going into it. Cardinals about 19th in terms of bullpen ERA with a 4.21. You've still been able to have Riley O'Brien be solid there. And the Reds, they're 25th in terms of bullpen ERA with a 4.77, but they've been more league average since June 1st with having the likes of Brock and Roll Burke along with TJ Antone being able to give you a sub 350 ERA ever since coming off the injury list. Caleb Ferguson has been solid as well. These guys have really been able to help out there, and for the Reds, they get to go up against a Cardinals team that entered in this series 3rd worst in all of baseball in terms of run creation at home. Like for the Cardinals, they do all their damage when they're away from home. Away from home, this team is 2nd in the league in terms of run creation. It just goes on the toilet bowl at home. Jordan Walker, 22 home runs, hitting for about 290 or so. And then you've got the likes of Evan Herrera, who overall for the season gives you over 375 on base, less than a 325 on base at home. Someone like an Nathan Church at the bottom of the fold, hitting at 230. Blaze Jordan doesn't really give you any sort of on base. You need a little bit more there. Alec Burleson, 15 bombs, along J.J. Weatherholt, both of these guys over at 340 on base. That helps, but you've got Ellie De La Cruz really coming into his own. He and J.J. Bleday, 17 home runs apiece. Spencer Sears up to 16 bombs as well, and for De La Cruz, 350 on base, 16 stolen bases. Cousin Sal Stewart, he's been able to about a 250 with 21 home runs. Need a little bit more towards the bottom of the lineup, but Tyler Stevenson at the catcher spot has been able to pick it up. It's the likes of TJ Friedel and company that really have not been. Matt McClain as well, but McClain is now on the injury list, so that helps. And I do think that the Reds get the job done. I think that Green keeps you under, so I told it an 8.3 in on the under, and I'm going to be willing to lay the money line of the Reds. I set them at a minus 117, 963, 964 on the card. The Royals are going to be on the road against the Tigers as Casey Mize goes for the Tigres, and one Mr. Michael Walker, and if he has a bad start, it's a dying Pac-Man voice of Michael Waka 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 goes for the Royals, and the Royals do find themselves as a pretty significant underdog here, plus 150 or so. Meanwhile, minus 175 to minus 180 is that number on Detroit. 8.5 is the total, over and under anywhere between minus 105 to a minus 115. Seeing a straight, that over is minus 120, the under is even. For the Tigers, between plus 118 to plus 125 is what I'm finding on that run line, and I'm willing to take a shot here on the run line. I was willing to take even money or better. Now, Michael Wacha has been a solid pitcher for the Royals. He's not necessarily a guy that's going to blow you away with his swing and miss stuff or anything like that. He's only getting about 7.3 strikeouts per 9 innings, but just does a professional job. 1.1 home runs, 2.6 walks allowed per 9 innings. He's got a fielding independent that's right around about a 4.03. That ERA is a 3.66, so he does a good job there, but that said, he's also backed up by a bullpen for the Royals that is in the bottom 5 of the big leagues in terms of ERA. Having Carlos Estevez on the injury list has just been absolutely destroying this team, and then have the likes of Alex Lang, Matt Strom, Lucas Ursich, all these guys posting up a 4.50 plus ERA. Been able to have Daniel Lynch be relatively solid in this bullpen, but he has pretty much been the lone bright spot for this team. Meanwhile, you've got a Detroit Tigers team that ever since June 1st, they've been a top 6 team in terms of bullpen ERA. This is even with having Brant Herter being out of the fold, as Will Vest, him being on the injury list, honestly, has probably helped this team, because you've been able to get a lot of these guys that'll be able to kick it up. Getting back Brendan Hennefy as well, that's going to be able to help them moving forward, because they were dealing with he and Burt Smith being on the injury list. Having Tyler Holden come into his own with a sub-3.25 ERA has been big. Kyle Finnegan, he's been really good in this bullpen as well. For Finnegan, he's been able to give you a sub-3.25 ERA. Still don't necessarily trust in Kenley Jansen in big spots, but in the little spots, he actually does a relatively solid job. And for the Tigers, this continues to be a bottom 10 team in terms of run creation. You've had Dylan Dingler be able to give you 19 plus home runs. He's been hitting well above a 260, and getting back Gleyber Torres is big. He, Riley Green, Kevin McGonigal have all been able to give you at least a 370 on base, but these guys like Matt Vierling, Zach McKinstry, Jake Rogers, so many guys at the bottom of the fold, hitting at 215 or lower as well. If they're still without Wencio Perez, that's not an issue. And for the Royals, they entered in the series averaging about 3.7 runs per game away from home. That is dead sinking last in all baseball. Starting to have more guys be able to move the line, like Vinny Pasquantino, Starling Marte, Nick Lofton, even Lane Thomas. These are all guys between about a 320 to a 335 on base. You've had Salvador Perez hit a few home runs since the All-Star break, but at 257 on base with like 13 home runs this season, that's not going to cut it. Tyler Tolbert is hitting above 300, and Jack Caglione has been solid as well, but now you've got Bobby Witt Jr. on the injury list. Caglione was out of the lineup yesterday as well, so got a lot of issues here for the Kansas City Royals. And with Casey Mize, I've really loved what I've been seeing out of him thus far this season. Maybe he's not going to completely blow you away, but he's got good swing and miss stuff. 9 strikeouts, about 2.1 walks per 9 innings, 279 ERA, 262 fielding dependent. Do think that the Tigers go out there, get the job done. I'm willing to take pretty much any sort of plus money on the run line, and I'm going to be willing to take the under. I did somebody told it at 8.1. 965, 966 on the card. The Blue Jays are on the road against the Red Sox. Sunny Gray hopes that it's a sunny day here for Boston, and for Dylan Cease, he goes for the Blue Jays. 7.5 is the total. Over is minus 115. The under is minus 105. Blue Jays are between even money to minus 104. Minus 112 to minus 120 is that number on Boston. And I made the Blue Jays a favorite. I'm going to be willing to take a shot on them on the money line. I set them at a minus 118. This is just a trust in Dylan Cease sort of spot. I recognize that his last start wasn't necessarily the world's greatest, but you look at what he's been able to do overall for the season, and he's been one of the nastiest pitchers in all of baseball. For Cease, 267 ERA, 239 fielding dependent. Always have to be mindful of the walks, about 3.9 walks per 9 innings, but 13.4 punch-outs per 9, 0.6 home runs per 9 innings as well. And for Sonny Gray, really nice 248 ERA. That said, the fielding independent is right now at 366. It's 8 strikeouts per 9 innings. That's the lowest that they have been since the 2016 campaign. So I do think that there might be a little bit of regression there. Now, for the good news, you get to go up against a bunch that has just not really been able to generate a lot of offense. For the Blue Jays, dead sinking last in terms of run creation, as they are the lone team in all of baseball that's averaging less than 4 runs per game. Just not a lot of power whatsoever. The lone guy that entered into the series with more than 10 home runs this season, that would be Kazuma Okamoto, 22 home runs. He's been rock solid, and we just have not gotten a lot out of Liger Jr., giving you only about a 260 average with 6 home runs entering into the series. That's just rough to say the least. Now, you do have some of these guys at the top of the lineup, like Nathan Lukes, Ernie Clement, hitting above a 280. They're getting back Addison Barger, but I don't think is really going to push them over the top or anything like that. Darwin Varsho moves the line a little bit, but it has been a rough offense. Meanwhile, for the Blue Jays, they benefit from the fact that the Red Sox have been a bottom 6 team in terms of run creation at home. Wilson Contreras has carried the mail, about a 390 on base, 22 home runs. He has been amazing. And Jaron Duran does give you 13 home runs. He is below the middle sign of a 200, though. You do have these guys like Weiler Abreu, Cedon Rafaela, Masataka Yoshida between about a 335 to a 350 on base. Anthony Siegler, in a small sample size, has been solid, but now Isaiah Kiner-Falefa is on the injury list. Now, what helps out this Boston Red Sox team is that their bullpen is the better out of the two, because for the Red Sox, they find themselves number 1 in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. The likes of Teran Guerrero, Garrett Woodlock, Giovanni Morin being able to give you a sub-3.25 ERA along with Aroldis Chapman closing out games. That's just so powerful for the team. But for the Blue Jays, Tyler Rogers, Louis Varland, both of these guys entered in the series, giving you a sub-2 ERA. Now, after that, it gets to be a little bit of a roll of the dice. They did have to DFA Tommy Nance, and I mean, these guys like Uriel Rodriguez and company that they tried to pluck out just have not worked out. So they're looking to Mason Fluharty, Brandon Little to be able to pick it up a little bit more. Adam Acko has not necessarily been great, but I think that Dylan Cease gives you a great start. I think that that'll keep you under. I did set my total at 7.4, and with the Blue Jays, made them the favorite here, so even money or better, I'm going to be in on that money line. 967, 968 on the card. The Rays are going to be playing us to the Cleveland Guardians. Tanner Bribey is on the bump for the Guardians, and Mr. Nick Martinez goes for the Rays. The Rays are between a minus 134 to a minus 138 / minus 140 favorites, and between plus 113 to plus 120. The number on Cleveland, 7.5 is the total. Over is minus 115, under is minus 105, and I'm going to be in on the over. I set my total more around an 8.2, 8.3, mainly because for both of these guys, they're pitching to a lot of contact. For Tanner Bibee, he's only getting 7 strikeouts per 9 innings, and he should be feeling lucky that he's got the ERA that he does, because right now he's posting up a 3.86 ERA, feeling independent of a 4.68. He has been giving up 1.5 home runs per 9 innings, and throughout his career, his ERA does go up higher when he is away from home rather than at home. Meanwhile, for Nick Martinez, 5 strikeouts per 9 innings. So he's doing a great job at reducing soft contact. 0.9 home runs, 1.6 walks per 9 innings. So he's really not beating himself. 2.56 ERA, but a 3.90 fielding independent. That is a little bit worrisome. Now, the good news is he does get to go up against the Cleveland Guardians team that, man, it has not been great for them, to say the least, at the plate over their last 42 games. They're averaging in the neighborhood about 3.7 to 3.8 runs per game, but now you're getting back Jose Ramirez. That helps out the offense in a big way. Angel Martinez just came back for the series as well. So finally, reinforcements are on the way for the team. And then Travis Bazzana, Brian Rocchio, these are guys give you about a 340 or so with regards to on base. Austin Edges is actually hitting a 280. I don't know how, because he's always been one of the worst hitters in all of baseball, but he's been a little bit better too. And then for the Tampa Bay Rays, obviously Junior Caminero has been on an absolute tear. He's approaching 30 home runs. He's been able to give you over 365 on base. But then you also have Yandy Diaz, Jonathan Aranda, a pair of guys with between 13 and 14 home runs. They're both above a 370 with their on base as well. They need a little bit more out of some of these guys like a Cedric Mullins, but even guys like Ben Williamson, Ryan Velde have been hitting above a 250. Johnny DeLuca, Nick Fortes, they move the line. Chandler Simpson is one of the better base stealers in all baseball. Now for the Rays, hurting them a little bit is the fact that they do have a bullpen that is in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of ERA. Cam Boozer has been a nice pickup, sub-3 ERA out of him, Brian Baker and Kevin Kelly, but Garrett Clevenger has had a shaky year thus far. Cole Sulzer over a 5 ERA. Some of these long guys have just not necessarily been amazing as well. And then for the Guardians, this has been a team that's been a top 7 team in terms of bullpen ERA. It did have to use up a lot of that bullpen, and they were one of the few teams that did have to play on Thursday, so they're a little bit less rested than most teams. Sean Armstrong posting up an ERA well above a 4. Good news is they're getting Tim Herron back off the injury list. That'll help them out, because some of these mix and match guys are not necessarily too trustworthy, but I do love what I've been seeing out of Colin Holderman. He's been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. Hunter Gaddis, after a really shaky start to the season, he's been rock solid as well, but with both of these starters pitching to so much contact, I do think that you're going to be able to get some run scoring here. So with the Rays, I'm going to be willing to back them on the money line, just because I do think that they slug their way to victory in this one. I did set them here to minus 151, and do like the over. I set my total at an 8.2. 969, 970 on the card. The Astros are going to be on the road against the White Sox, as Sean Burke goes for the White Sox, Hunter Brown for the Astros, and the Astros do find themselves as a little bit of an underdog here. Find them between minus 102 to a plus 105. Meanwhile, minus 116 to minus 130 is that number on the Southsiders. 8 is the total. Over is minus 115. Under is minus 105. Seeing 8.5 out there as well. Under is minus 120. Over is even, and me my total at an 8.4. I'm going to be willing to take a shot on the 8 to the over, as the White Sox team has been very rock solid with their offense. For the White Sox, they're a top 8 team in terms of run creation. They're averaging about 5 runs per game. I know I recognize that Montaka Murakami, since coming off the injury list, hasn't necessarily been able to supply a lot of boom, but he, Miguel Vargas, along Colson Montgomery have all been able to give you 20 plus home runs this season. And in the case of Montgomery, he really doesn't give you a lot of average and on base, but if you got Miguel Vargas, give you about a 350 on base. Tristan Peters is hitting about a 285. Chase Meadroth in the neighborhood about a 350 on base, and then Sam Antonassi over a 370 on base himself. And for the Astros, just a little bit of a top heavy lineup. Yordan Alvarez has obviously been amazing. He's been able to give you 34 bombs. He's giving you well above a 400 on base. And then Christian Walker, not necessarily a ton of average, but he's supplying for this team 20 home runs, so that's been relatively solid. But these mix and match outfielders, Joey Luperfido, Zach DeZenzo, throw in there Cam Smith, who he's been able to give you a little bit of power with like 12 home runs thus far this season, but outside of him, no power out of any of these guys. Lamont Wade Jr., you're able to throw him in there as well. Like, all these guys have had a really rough time in terms of just being able to get on base, move the line, and give you anything whatsoever towards the bottom of the fold. And then you have Yanier Diaz and Vasquez at the catcher spot, pair of guys that have been giving you less than a 300 on base as well, so that needs to be cleaned up. Now for the Astros, this has been a bullpen that has been really good recently. They're actually a top 5 team in terms of bullpen area ever since June 1st. Getting Josh Hader back in the fold, that has made all the difference in the world for this team. And then you've got Brian King and Steven Okert give you a sub 355 ERA. It's still been rough for Aniel De Los Santos. That's a guy that I really don't trust him whatsoever, but still bullpen has been a little bit better. And for the White Sox, they've been a top 10 team in terms of bullpen ERA since June 1st as well. These guys like Grant Taylor, Brian Hudson, even Sean Newcomb have been able to give you a sub 325. I still don't really have any faith whatsoever in Sir Anthony Dominguez, and having Jordan Leisure on the injury list has probably been helping out this bullpen because he was so bad. But even someone like Tyler Schweitzer has been able to give you some relatively okay innings, and I like what I've seen out of Sean Burke. Last year, he was giving up well over 4 walks per 9 innings. He's really been able to tone that down this year. 320 ERA, 357 fielding dependent, 1 home run, 2.7 walks per 9 innings, while getting those 9.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. And do have to have some trepidation with Hunter Brown just because the command has been all over the place. The swing and miss stuff is back with him, but for Hunter Brown, he is giving up over 5 walks per 9 innings right now, 405 ERA, but closer to a 498 fielding dependent because he's getting those 9.7 strikeouts per 9 innings, but 6.3 walks per 9. So I set the White Sox here to minus 119, so willing to take a minus 118 or better. I like that 8 to the over, so I might total it at 8.4. 971, 972 on the card. The Athletics are going to be on the road against the Minnesota Twins. Boy, did they make my job fun here. This is undecided going for the Minnesota Twins, and it's undecided going for the Athletics, but we do have openers because we think that it's going to be Connor Prelip here for the Minnesota Twins, and Mason Barnett probably in some form or capacity for the Athletics. And as of right now, the Athletics open up at about a plus 135 to a plus 140, minus 155 to minus 170 on the Twins. 10.5 is the total, over and under both at minus 110. I set the Twins at a minus 152 on the money line. If you're looking to lay a run half, I'm seeing as good as a plus 126 to a plus 130 out there. I would rather just lay a run half with the Minnesota Twins rather than take that very chalky money line because, man, it's just gotten a little bit out of control for my liking. And if you do indeed get Mason Barnett in some form or capacity, actually a 4.34 ERA for the AAA Las Vegas Aviators when he's been at the big league level. He's been coming out of the bullpen. He's been a starter at the AAA level. I still have my issues with him over a 5 fielding dependent when he's been at the big league level. He's given up the deep ball. I have much more faith here in Connor Prelip. For Prelip, 5 ERA overall for the season. Now, he's coming off of a minor league rehab start where he only went 3 innings, so you're probably not going to be able to get a lot of length out of him, but overall for the season, he's posting up about a 389 fielding dependent, 9.6 strikeouts, 3.4 walks per 9 innings in 13 starts, so he's been relatively presentable. And for the Athletics, this is a lineup that is currently dealing with Nick Kurtz being out of the fold, so that hurts them. Henry Bolte has sort of been in and out a little bit as well. Shea Langoliers, 20 plus home runs, he has been tremendous for the team, but also for Sacramento, they're only averaging about 4.1 runs per game away from him. That's a bottom 10 mark in all of baseball in terms of run creation away from him. Now you're dealing with 2 bullpens that are just absolutely awful right now, like holy crud. You've got a Athletics team that has a 5.60 ERA overall for the season in their bullpen since June 1st entering into yesterday. 7.04 bullpen ERA for the Minnesota Twins, 5.02 bullpen ERA overall for the season. That's a bottom 5 mark. They're starting to find a little bit of something with Andrew Morris, Yandris Gomez, give you a sub 375 ERA, but these guys like Anthony Banda, Cody Lawyerson, the currently injured Eric Orse, all these guys have been awful. And then, well, for the Athletics, Elvis Alvarado's in the building to give up runs. Hogan Harris has not been awful for this bullpen. Mark Leiter Jr. was, and he's on the injury list. That'll probably help them out a little bit, but these mix and match guys like Luis Medina and company just not really holding up. And for the Twins, this has been a team that's been in the upper half of the big leagues in terms of run creation. Getting back Byron Buxton is massive. 25 home runs. He's been able to about a 275, and Brooks Lee is out up to 15 home runs. It's about a 250. Josh Bell, since June 1st, has been able to give you well above a 330 on base. He's kicked it up. You've been able to have some of these mix and match guys do a little bit more. Royce Lewis, since being recalled from the minors, has been a little bit better. Austin Martin gives you about a 350 on base. I do think that the 10.5 total out there in Minnesota is just a little bit too high, so I'm in on the under. I did set my total more around a 9.9, and like I said, at a plus 126 or better, going to be on the Twins on the run line. 973 at 974 on the card. It's the Seattle Mariners, and they're going to be on the road facing off against the Rangers as Nathan Eovaldi goes for the Rangers. Brian Wu says woohoo to another start for the Mariners. They're between minus 110 to a minus 115, pretty much minus 105 across the board for that Rangers number. 7.5 is the total. Over is minus 110 to a minus 120. Under is between even and minus 110, and did set a total here of a 7.7, so I'm in on the over. And with this one, I made it pretty much a toss-up. I made the Rangers the very, very slim -101 favorite. When we get the timelines out, I do think that I should be able to find even money on the Rangers, and that will put me in on them on the money line. For Nathan Eovaldi, he has been giving up a little bit too much hard contact, but I just can't get past the fact that Brian Wu has such big home and road splits. For Brian Wu, overall for the season, he should be doing for some positivity on his 4.16 ERA. He's only giving up 1 home run per 9 innings. He's getting 8.9 punch-outs per 9, so he's been able to do a relatively solid job there, but I mean, all of his good starts are coming at home. At home, he's 6-0 with a 2.20 ERA, 4 home runs allowed in 57 and a third innings. Away from him, he's giving up closer to 1.5 home runs per 9 innings, 6.28 ERA. And I recognize that Arlington does suppress offense, but going into the day on Friday, the Rangers had played, I believe it was 9 out of their last 10 games to the over. Wyatt Langford has been able to make a big impact for this lineup, and even though you don't necessarily have a ton of power with this team. You've got Jock Peterson, Jake Berger with 17 home runs apiece. You're starting to get these guys move the line a little bit more. Josh Young has been able to hit about a 295. Brandon Nimmo continues to get on. He and Ezekiel Duran both hitting in that neighborhood about a 265 to a 270. It's been a small sample size, but Elias Diaz has been able to kick it up at the catcher spot. Nicky Lopez hitting above a 300. Cam Cauley has been able to give you some good at-bats as well. And for Seattle, this team is a bottom 3 team in terms of run creation. Now they're dealing with a little bit of an injury to J.P. Crawford. They're hoping to get back Brendan Donovan, but it's not going to be in this series. You do have the likes of Dom Canzone, Julio Rodriguez, Cole Young, who've been able to give you between 13 to 15 home runs, and they're only between about a 245 to a 260. Other than Canzone, not a lot of guys draw walks now. Randy Arozarena, 380 on base. He's been solid in terms of moving the line. And Cal Raleigh did have a grand slam earlier in the week, but hitting a $163 with 10 home runs entering into yesterday, that's just not cutting it. Colt Emerson has been a disappointment. Now for the Mariners, it is a top 8 team in terms of bullpen ERA, but Cooper Criswell, Matt Brash, they continue to be out of the fold. I like Gabe Spire, Jose Ferrer, Edward Bizardo, sub 325 ERAs out of all these guys, and we have seen the Rangers bullpen start to regress a little bit, so that's a bit of a concern, but I know that they were dealing with an injury to, I believe it was Jacob Junis. One of the Jacob Junis, Jacob Latz, both of these guys are sub 3 ERA. They get him back. Tyler Alexander's been able to give you sub 3 ERA. Peyton Gray has been solid. Again, with Eovaldi, do have to have a few qualms with the fact that he has been giving up about 1.5 home runs per 9 innings this year, but his swing and miss stuff is still good in the neighborhood about 9.4 to 9.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. He's actually given up a little bit more at home rather than away from home with about a 4.60 ERA at home, but I do think that the Rangers should be the slim favorite. So being able to get them at like even money or better, we'll be in on the Rangers on the money line, and like the over, somebody told 7.7, 975, 976 on the card. The Angels are going to be on the road against the Giants, as we've got Robbie Ray saying hip hip hooray for the Giants, and Ryan Johnson goes for the Angels. Angels find themselves as very slim underdogs, plus 105 to a plus 110, minus 125 to minus 130 for the Giants. 8.5 to 9 is the total on the 9, under is minus 120, the over is even, and on the 8.5, over is minus 120, and the under is even. I really like Robbie Ray here. I mean, I've been burnt by him in the past, but he has been so much better at home rather than away from home. And for Ray and the Giants, I set their money line price here more around about a minus 172. Ryan Johnson has just been terrible. 6.10 ERA, 6.23 fielding dependent, 2.3 home runs, 3.8 walks allowed per 9 innings. And for Robbie Ray, regression is due from 3.33 ERA with 4.60 fielding dependent, 4.4 walks, 1.2 home runs per 9 innings. But how about his home numbers? 2.44 ERA at home, 0.8 home runs allowed per 9 innings. That doubles away from home to about 1.7 home runs per 9 innings and a 4.35 ERA. Now for the Giants, we're starting to see this bullpen regress quite a bit. They're about 21st in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA with a 4.42. Caleb Killian has seen his ERA go above a 4, but so you've got some of these other guys like an Eric Miller has been able to step up, give you some relatively solid innings. I know that they've had Sam Hentages be really good in this bullpen. He's been able to give you a sub 3 ERA. The injury to Yoel Piguero, Matt Gage, that's been hurting them, but now they're getting Keaton Wynn off the injury list. He's been able to give you a sub 3.25 ERA along with Dylan Smith, so these guys have been able to do a relatively solid job there, and JT Brubaker has been a pretty good long guy as well. For the Giants, you're starting to get a little bit more offensive pop as well. Rafael Devers, Casey Schmidt, both of these guys are up to 20 home runs. I recognize that for Devers and Willie Adames, they really don't draw a lot of walks, especially Adames. Right now, he's got 18 home runs, but at 279 on base. That said, Luis Arias, Jungle Lee hit above a 300. You've been able to get Eloy Ramos. Bryce Eldridge should be able to move the line for you, both hitting about a 265 to 270. And when Eldridge is healthy, he's able to give you about a 360 on base. Has been in and out the last few days. Should be good to go in this series. The catcher spot has been a little bit of an issue, but Daniel Sucic has been able to give you some good at-bats as well. And then for the Angels. They do average darn near a full run per game more away from home rather than at home, but this is a very pitcher-friendly ballpark. You've got Mike Trout, Zach Neto, both give you 18-plus home runs. Neither guy hits above a 240, but both guys have been able to give you a solid on-base. Olin Schunel, about a 350 on-base. Donovan Walton was hitting at 300. They decided to deal him away. Wade Meckler has been a nice find for the team at the bottom of the fold, but Ori Soler has been a big disappointment. The catcher spot is all sorts of, shall we say, rough as well. And then for the Angels, they've actually been like a league average team in terms of bullpen ERA since June 1st. Ever since they got rid of Alek Manoah, it's been much better. The likes of Sammy Natera, Sam Bachman, Ryan Zefrian, Kirby Yates. I mean, I'm not saying they're amazing, but sub 3.90 ERAs, I guess that's getting the job done. So I do like the under. I saw my total at 8.4, but don't trust in Ryan Johnson. I'm in on the Giants on the money line, 977, 978 on the card. It is the Yankees. They're going to be on the road against the Phillies as Brian Keller makes his MLB debut for the Phillies, and Ryan Weathers hopes to weathers the storm for the Yankees. Total on this game is 8.5. Over is minus 115. The under is minus 105. Between minus 102 to plus money of plus 105. That number on the Phillies, minus 118 to minus 120 is that number on the Yankees. And pretty much any sort of plus money is going to put me on the Phillies. I would need at least a plus 103 to be able to do so, but I should be able to get plus money when it's all said and done. For Brian Keller, guy from UW Milwaukee, and he's like a year younger than me, grew up like an hour away from me, so I actually know this guy quite well. He has been very good at the minor league level for the Iron Pigs, and I believe that he was a part of some sort of a lower league as well. He spent some time out there in the Japanese league. Like, this is a long and winding road. He's been in minor league baseball and foreign leagues since like 2013. Right now he's applying a 2.06 ERA at the minor league level, and I mean, his strikeout stuff was good. 9.4 strikeouts per 9 innings. Have to have a little bit of fear, even though the Yankees have only averaged like 3.4 runs per game in their last 27 games, that he is going to be lit a little bit ablaze here. This is a big step up in competition for him, but as we know with the Yankees, it has been all sorts of rough with regards to their offense without having Aaron Judge in the fold. Now, the Yankees have been very good with their bullpen pitching. As a matter of fact, this is a team that is currently numero uno in terms of bullpen area with David Bednar, Fernando Cruz, throwing their Brent Hedrick, Paul Blackburn. I'll give you a sub 3.25 ERA, and the Phillies, they just don't have that. You've got Yoran Duran, who's been able to give you a sub 2.25 ERA. Roaring Kirkering has been solid as well. Tim Mays has been a little bit up and down thus far this season, and Jonathan Bolin has been solid. I'll give him a little bit of shout out, but Jose Alvarado and guys like that have been a little bit tough. But for the Yankees, they're just not finding a lot of offense right now. Paul Goldschmidt was able to go yard yesterday, but man, he's been in an almighty funk. You've had the catcher spot in general be really bad. You saw Dominguez only about a 275 on base. Cody Bellinger about a 350 on base. That's been relatively okay, but Amid Rosario has been an issue. Ben Rice is the lone guy really hitting for the team. Over 28 home runs, 365 on base. Flip side for the Phillies, they do it significantly better when they're at home rather than away from home, despite the fact that their record has actually been better away from home rather than at home. You've got a Phillies bunch that only averages about 3.9 runs per game away from home, closer to about 4.8 runs per game when they are at home. And Kyle Schwarber, he's been able to give you 33 short bombs and about a 360 on base this season. Bryce Harper, 20 plus bombs, he's been able to give you about a 360 on base. Brandon Marsh, 15 home runs, he's hitting just a hair below a 300. And the likes of a Bryson Stott, Trey Turner have been better recently. They're now hitting above a 240. Gabriel Cronus continues to be an issue in the outfield, and Alec Bohm, I just don't know if it ever turns around for him, but I do think that this is going to be a little bit of a higher scoring game, especially with the fact that Ryan Weathers does not enter into the start in great form either. For Weathers, he's been able to really up his swing and miss stuff this season, but I mean, that has still resulted in a 4.40 ERA because he's getting hit hard. 1.5 home runs per 9 innings, 10.1 punch outs per 9. Now, the 393 fielding dependent, it does point towards a little bit of positivity for him, and he obviously has that bullpen that's backing him up as well. You look at what he's been able to do away from home, and away from home, he's been giving up 6 home runs in 38 and a third innings, relatively on par with what he's doing at home. So if I could get plus money on the Phillies, I'll be looking at that money line, and did somebody told it at 8.9. So on the 8.5, I do like the over, and wrap things up with 979, 980. The Braves are going to be on the road against the Orioles as Brandon Young goes for the Orioles, and you've got Bryce Elder hoping to not be elderly here for the Braves, and the Braves do find themselves in a relatively pick'em game. They're between minus 104 to a minus 110, minus 110 to a minus 112 as that number on Baltimore. 9 is the total. Under is minus 110 to a minus 115. Over is minus 105 to a minus 110, and I'm in on the over. I did set my total at a 9.4. For Bryce Elder, he's not really giving up a ton of the deep ball, but he's not missing a lot of bats. You look at the Baseball Savant page, he's doing for some regression. 1.4 home runs, 2.7 walks per 9 innings, 4.06 ERA with only about 7.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, and it's just really toilet bowled for him recently. 4+ runs allowed in 4 out of his last 5 starts. for Brandon Young, I'm still expecting some regression out of him as well. He's not necessarily missing a lot of bats himself. 7.3 strikeouts per 9 innings. He's keeping the ball in the yard. 0.9 home runs allowed per 9 innings. He's got a 3.25 ERA, closer to about a 3.85 fielding dependent. And when Brandon Young has been out there in Baltimore, it's been a case where he has been a little bit better. He's been, though, giving up a lot of home runs at home. His 3.04 ERA is lower than his 3.48 ERA away from home, but at home, he's right now giving up closer to about 1.35 home runs per 9 innings. So you have to have a bit of caution there, and you've got an Atlanta Braves team that is in the top 8 in terms of run creation. Drake Baldwin, ever since the All-Star break, has looked like a different man, hitting at 275. He's been able to supply the team with a bunch of boom, with 17-plus home runs this season. Austin Riley starting to round in for him a little bit as well. He had a nice day yesterday. Matt Olson, 25-plus home runs. Mauricio Dubon, Albies, hitting above a 260 but below a 275. For Albies, 15-plus bombs out of him as well. You've had Michael Harris being able to hit darn near 300 for this team as well. And for the Orioles, it's just a little bit top-heavy because likes of a Tyler O'Neill, you had Chadrick Trump have to get a start at the catcher spot yesterday. Colton Cowser, Jackson Alday. These are guys hitting at 225 or lower. Kobe Mayo gives you some power, but he's a guy that's having a tough time moving the line as well. But Pete Alonso, 20-plus home runs, 340 on base. Taylor Ward, not a lot of power, but a 385 on base. The Orioles just don't have the better bullpen in this case. For the Atlanta Braves, Dylan Lee, Dylan Dodd have been able to give you a sub-3 rate. Tyler Kinley has been a little bit of an issue, but you've been able to get great production on Raisel Iglesias at the closer's role. Having Robert Suarez out hurts them, but DDA Fuentes has done a nice job filling in. Meanwhile, Tyler Wells, Junior Cano, Rico Garcia, sub-325 ERA, but you've got the likes of an Anthony Nunez who has not been great. Andrew Kittredge has been much better recently, but the overall season numbers are still shaky. Grant Wolfram, over a 4.5 ERA, so I do think that the Braves do find a way to be able to persevere here. I'm willing to lay up to -110 on that Braves money line, and like the over at sub-8 9.4, and that wraps things up for the Saturday edition of the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. And if you do like hearing from this fine podcast, Baseball Betting Show, you're able to subscribe wherever your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one of two ways we offer those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at Junit_81. Keep in mind, Lars name does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. The other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it's very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. Big thanks once again to Matt Josephs, aka Mid-Major Matt. He does such an amazing job taking a look at this great sport of baseball, and he does such a great job on the prop front. So big thanks to him for joining me in the last segment, and I'm with you guys every single day, giving you guys picks and analysis on every game, every day. So I'll be back with you guys once again tomorrow. Thank you.